pleased to say we have the Health Secretary Victoria Atkins with us this morning. Good to see you, Madam Secretary. Thanks for taking the time to join us. How do you react to that story to start with?
These are horrific allegations. This should not, must not happen in our care. Very, very vulnerable people have to stay in mental inpatient facilities, and they do so because they need care and support and treatment. And some of the activities that have come to light are criminal offences. And so I would encourage anyone who feels able to, and I appreciate it can be a difficult step, but if anyone has suffered from these sorts of experiences, then I would encourage them, please, to go to the police and report them, because these are crimes and we must drive this behaviour out. And
they would have the support of the Health Secretary in doing that?
Very much so, of course.
OK.
Very much so.
I wonder if you could talk to me about Martha's rule. We've been talking a little bit about that this morning in relation to Martha Mills, who, just a little girl, 13 years old, died of sepsis because her symptoms were missed. What's going to happen now?
So, as you've described, this was an utterly heartrending case, and I pay tribute to Merope and Paul, Martha's parents, who have not just gone through this horrific experience and lost their beloved daughter, but have also found the wherewithal to campaign to help other families. So what this means is that if a parent or a family member, or indeed the patient themselves, if they're worried that their physical condition is deteriorating rapidly, then they can ask for a rapid review by a team of clinicians who are not in their immediate care, a second set of eyes, if you like, looking at their condition to double check that the diagnosis is accurate, that nothing has been missed, and to give families the reassurance that very tragically Merope and Paul did not have with Martha.
Are you content as Health Secretary that there is enough capacity in the system to deliver that?
Yeah, this is a really significant step forward for patient safety, and so we are rolling it out iteratively. We're dealing with the first group of about 100, possibly more, hospitals that will roll this out. We want to work with hospitals to understand how they can best publicise it, how they can put these teams in place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we will then roll that out completely to all acute hospitals. So this is a really big step forward for patients, but I'm extraordinarily grateful, as I say, to Martha's mum and dad for leading the charge on this.
How concerned are you, though, that it took the death of a 13-year-old to find yourself in this position?
I mean, this is exactly what I'm trying to tackle as Health Secretary. I want to ensure that our NHS is safe for everyone and is looking after everyone as well as it possibly can. And so I want to ensure that, you know, when mums and dads take their children into hospital, we have an instinct. And equally with elderly patients, family members may know if an elderly patient is confused. They may know that the state of confusion is more than it is normally if they're suffering from those sorts of conditions. And so that insight can really help clinicians, but we want to make it easier for people to ask for that help, because the thing, when I've met Merope, the thing that has really stayed with me is that she didn't feel able, she didn't know where to ask for help, and we absolutely can and must and will deal with that.
Front pages of a couple of the papers this morning, the failure of a British nuclear weapons test with the Defence Secretary on board at the time. It was supposed to go something like, I think, 3,500 miles. It plopped at the side of the submarine. How embarrassing.
Well, we have complete confidence in the system.
Why?
Well, I'm informed, and you'll appreciate we are constrained by national security considerations here, but I am informed and I accept that that was an anomaly that was very event-specific. It has been corrected.
Second time.
And we have complete confidence in the system. This is a really important part of our defence system, and we as Conservatives fully support and understand the importance of a nuclear deterrent.
What can you tell us about what happened?
I can't, I'm afraid, Kay, because it is the very nature of it means that the people that know about these things, I'm afraid, are a very, very small group of people in very, very secure circumstances. It's a national security matter.
Despite twice on the bounce this happening, it happened previously as well, I believe. You have full confidence in our nuclear
Very
deterrent?
much so, I do. Because
even though that's happened twice on the bounce?
Because this, as I say, it's been identified as an anomaly. It was event-specific. and it has been sorted.
What does that mean,
So,
prevents this specific?
Well, that is the Ministry of Defence's own words. As I say,
it didn't work, in other words.
You will appreciate that because of the national security considerations here, they can't go into more detail. But our commitment and our determination to ensure that Trident and our nuclear deterrent works and is maintained is absolutely paramount.
New research showing more than 1 in 10 people on universal credit have used a food bank in the last month. Almost 800,000 people using food banks in the last month. What a damning indictment of this government.
Well, actually, if you look at the help that we've given across society, but very importantly targeted towards the poorest in society, you'll see that, for example, we've just had the most recent cost of living payment to recipients of universal credit. We've given more than £3,000 of support to the average household through these very difficult times with cost of living pressures. But actually, this is why the Prime Minister has put such an emphasis on the economy, because as we're able to, as we have done, halve inflation, that helps all of us, but it particularly helps those on the lowest incomes because they tend to be disproportionately hurt by high inflation,
yet they still have to
including,
use food
of course, food inflation. Well, as I say, inflation is now more than halved. That is great news, and we want to grow the economy so that we're helping everyone, including, of course, people on universal credit, but we're really being able to build an economy that supports a much brighter future for us all, including our children.
Do you buy into the theory that some of your colleagues have espoused on this programme previously, that you only use a food bank if you want to?
I have the privilege of some wonderful food banks in my constituency, and I know that the people running those food banks do so with the very best of intentions. And what is more, I think some of the best outreach that food banks can do is if they are using they're not just helping people with the supply of food, but also trying to help people with, for example, debt management and so on. And I know that a lot of food banks do that work. I think that's really valuable work.
How are you going to vote later on Gaza?
I will be supporting the government amendment, which is our consistent approach to Gaza and Israel, which is that we want a humanitarian pause so that we can get aid in, get the hostages out, but for a longer-term settled ceasefire, which we all want, of course we do, we have to have those conditions in place. We've got to have those hostages released, and we have to have Hamas out.
OK. Your opposite number last week sat where you are and said that Israel's gone too far in Gaza. Do you agree with him?
I think Labour is in a very troubled place with this. We've seen today there's some political manoeuvring. Well, this is the context. I'm not having this very important international issue defined by Labour Party internal politics.
I'm asking you personally. I'm saying that's what he said, and I'm asking you, do you think Israel's gone too far?
We have, as a government and as a country, we have absolutely supported Israel's right to self-defence within international law. And it is, this country is still reeling from the attacks of October the 7th.
But have they gone too far?
And rather than the Labour Party tying itself up in knots because it can't quite decide what its approach is to this, we as a UK government are taking a measured and consistent approach to making sure we get hostages out, get Hamas out, get a proper set up a proper government in Palestine, and that is how a ceasefire will last. And that's what we all want. There's no point having a ceasefire that collapses after a few weeks.
But do you feel that Israel has gone too far in its actions in Gaza?
I think Israel has the right to defend itself within international law, and I've said this many times on media rounds. Sadly, I've had to since October the 7th because it's obviously had such an enormous impact on the region.
And you must continue on your media rounds, so we'll let you go. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the programme. Appreciated. Thank you.